Welcome to clickmyproject.com. The project title is a Truthful Quality of Service Aware Spectrum Auction with a spatial reuse for large-scale networks. Now going to explain the project. The main objective is to obtain quality of service while allocating channels based on the priority of the users, and also to obtain truthfulness while allocating prices based on their channel allocation. I'm going to explain abstract. The main theme is a cognitive radio network. In that networks, the primary user have more access right, hence they called as primary user, and the secondary priority given to the other users they called as secondary user. In existing method, before allocating the channels, the primary user allocation will be allocated as before, and the primary user not considered in the channel allocation. In proposed method, the allocation will be given to both primary access and also to the secondary access. Here we attain the quality of service to the channels and added the spatial reuse. After allocation, to attain the truthfulness, there is a pricing method which is independent of the user requirement of channel access. Then there is a performance analysis based on the usage of the bidders and the allotted price. Now going to explain data flow diagram. The process starts with initializing the auction process. The first process, generation of action rule. After generation of action rule, the actioner allow the users to apply the bids. To apply, the users must have to register and then have to log in. After login only, they can apply the bid to the auctioneer. After applying, the auctioneer will collect all the bids. If the auctioneer receives that, the second process is spectrum allocation. If the bidders who were neighbors and also applying for the same access right, means they have a threshold value. If they over the threshold level, they have to allocate the another free spectrum, otherwise they can't win the spectrum allocation. If they are not a neighbors, the spectrum will be allocated based on their access rights. After spectrum allocations, the auctioneer have to select the winners based on their obtained access rights. The auctioneer will release the winners list. Those who are winners, those bidders only can log in and utilize the allocated spectrum. After the utilization, the auctioneer will collect their usage, and depend on their usage, the auctioneer will allocate the price based on that. After all this allocation and pricing, the performance is evaluated based on the Jane's Fairness Index. Now going to show the demo of the project. By clicking inside of this image, we can start the further process. This is the auctioneer home page. First of all, we have to initialize the auction process. Now the auction is started and the users can apply the bids. After that, we have to generate the rules for the auction process. For that, we have to press this button. Successfully, the rules are generated. By pressing view rules, we can view the rules. Those are the services and the request. For them, those rights are can applied and the bandwidth will be allocated. After that, the bidders can be applied the bid by allowing the process. The permission will be granted to the users to log in to apply the bid. Now we have to run the login form. To provide the authorization to apply the bid. In that login form, if the user is already registered, those who can apply the bid. For each user, we have an user ID and username and the password. The user login successfully. This is the user form. Here, the user have to select the type of service and the requirement which was needed by him. After selecting, we have to press this apply bit button. Now the actioner have to receive that. By pressing get bidders button, it shows the online users list. Then to get the bid from the user, have to press this button. Here the auctioneer received the applied bid by the logged user. From another login, we have to run the login form again. Before that, we have to log out for the previously logged in user. Now we have to log in for another user. Another user will log in successfully, and the user form is shown here, and here we are selecting service and the requirement, and by pressing apply bid, here the user is applied the bid, and here we have to press the get bid button. Now the username and the user ID and the requested service is get by the actioner. Then have to log out. The user AB is logged out successfully. Now again we have to do this process for 2 more users. This user also login successful, and here I have to select the service and the requirement, and by applying bid, and here by get bid, and have to log out. Have to type those details: user ID, username, and password. Those who are the bidders, and the actioner will receive this bid and successfully log out. Now the bid applying process is finished. The actioner will get all the bids. Here going to collect the bids. Those who are the details of the bids detail. Now we have to start the allocation process, spectrum allocation. Here for each user we have to get the ID by pressing this get user ID button. By selecting here, those are the apply bid. By pressing get bid detail, we get the user ID's detail, and we have to get the access rights. Here the calculate neighbor button is used to calculate the distance between those users, which is used when the bidders will apply for the same access right, and those who are neighbors. At that time we need to calculate and show the distance between those users. If they are neighbors, means we have to allocate, or the actioner have to allocate the another access right related to those applied or the user's requirement. For that, here we calculate the neighbors. Next we have to check the bidding. Here the status of access right is primary access right, we can allocate that user. Access right is successfully allocated to those user. Then for each user we have to select the user ID and get the details, and just check the bidding detail. We have get the access right, and we have to allocate successfully. Like this we have to do for all the users, and have to allocate. The allocation process successfully finished. Now we have to select the winners. So for that, have to press the winners button. Here by clicking select winners, Those who are primary and secondary access rights only, here we can get. Successfully winners was selected. You have to get those winners list, the Axner database, and here we can view. Those who are primary, secondary access rights can shown here. Winners were successfully selected. Now we have to allow the users to utilize their allocated spectrums. So the permission is granted. So the bidders can now log in to utilize the spectrum. For that, we have to run the login page to provide the authorization process to utilize the spectrum and to avoid the market manipulation. So the winners only can log in here. So the user ID and the username and the password have to be typed here, and the user is logged in successfully, and the user form is the user ID and the username and their allotted access right and the bandwidth which was provided by the actioner based on their access right. Here, by clicking the select file, you have to choose or we can view the file. Here, by the content reading is the main process. Based on that, we are considering the usage. Here, the user select a text file. He successfully get the file contents. By clicking get files, the user can get the files as based on the bandwidth he can get as a package. Like selecting and pressing view content, he can view the contents in the each package. To get whole details of the package, you have to select each package one by one and have to click view content. By doing this, the user is get or utilize the allocated bandwidth. Now the user have to update the usage spectrum details by clicking update button, and here actioner we have to get the usage details. The user use the allocated spectrum. Here we have to view the details of that, the file path and the bandwidth and the file size. After that, the user have to log out. Like this, we have to log in for other two users who are the winners for the spectrum auction. The user is logged in successfully. Here the allocated access right is secondary access right and the allocated bandwidth is 300. Now this user is selecting the text file to view the contents, and he get the file contents, and those are splitted as a package based on their allotted bandwidth. Now have to update the usage details to the actioner, and the actioner will get the details, and here we can view. Now the user details are updated and have to log out. Still only one user have to utilize the allocated bandwidth. For that, here we are going to log in. Another user is ID, username and password. User login successfully. The access right and the bandwidth is shown here by clicking select file. Here we are choosing the text file, and he get the file contents, and he can view the file contents. Here we update the usage information. The user used the allocated spectrum. Here successfully viewed. Now the users have used successfully. So here we have to go to the next process, pricing. By clicking price button, the pricing process will be started. First of all, we have to get the usage information, then view the usage details and the file size and the user IDs, username and the access rights and the bandwidth. And here you have to get the user IDs and select. By clicking price button, the price is successfully allocated, and we have to update this price allotment, and we have to select another user ID for pricing. The pricing is allotted, and we have to update this to actioner. So let's do the next user. Successfully the price allotted is updated. Now we have to see the price information. The price is successfully allotted. Next we have to go to the performance evaluation. The performance evaluation process based on the usage and the price, which is independent of the user's requirement, or we can say this user's access right. First you have to get the both usage and pricing details of the bidders, and here we get the usage details and the price details. By clicking evaluate button, performance is successfully evaluated. The performance evaluation is using Jane's Fairness Index. Jane's Fairness Index formula is shown here, which is successfully applied here. The Jane's Fairness Index value is 0.6, and the graph is shown by clicking this graph button. The simple and dualities are the existing method, which was compared to the proposed system, and which is worst of Jane's Fairness Index to the number of bidders.